Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another weekly Shlog here at Highland Cycles in Montrose, Colorado, where we show you all kinds of cool dirt bike stuff. We make fun of people. We have a lot of fun. We joke about things. We've got an angry mechanic over there. His wife is up front. The dogs are normally here. They're not here today, which is really making Leander upset. But if that sounds like fun and you want to watch us go through the week, join us. Here we go. Alright guys, start off the week. You can hear the lovely sound of the ultrasonic in the background as Zach is cleaning the cylinder head from this YZ140. This is the one that the guy put the air filter in completely dry with zero oil, and I mean zero because it was a brand new filter that he bought from us and he just slapped it in. And it turns out it's actually not super terrible, right Zach?
Yeah, cylinder's alright.
Cylinder's okay? How's everything else? Hammered?
Surprisingly
not as bad. We caught it early. That's a valve. You can see the gas. There you go. You can see the wear starting right there on the edge, the face of that valve. So that's why it was getting hard to start. So I think the valves are sucking up. It probably didn't really lose compression through the cylinder because it actually looks good. Look at that. Lovely, no scratches or anything like that. But the intake valves took a beating for sure. There's the other one. There we go, yeah. But we are replacing everything because why not? If you're going to be in there, it's got over 100 hours on it anyway, so it's time to go ahead and, oh yeah. Here we go. Here's the throttle body. That's disgusting. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's not what you want. Oh, look, there's that. There's the air side. It's so dirty. That is disgusting. So yeah, that's not what you want, but that is a testament to how tough Yamahas are. I mean, it did find the valve, but I bet if we just adjusted the valves, he probably could have gotten another who knows how long out of it before it got tight again. Probably not terribly long because on titanium valves, the reason they wear out is that they get some dirt or something like that on the coating on the valve face. Because let me back up. Titanium as a metal is very awesome, but it's not all that strong in certain ways. One of the ways it's not very strong is in beating on things, which is what valves do in the head. So they like to use them because they're lightweight. You can rev the motor higher without the valves floating and all that good stuff. So what the companies do is they put a coating, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they put some sort of coating on the face of the valve to keep it from doing that. Well, when you don't maintain your air filter correctly, you get some dirt past there, it goes in and it acts as an abrasive on that coating, wears the coating off, then the valve starts to wear, sucks up in the head and whatever. So probably that valve, if we had adjusted it, he could have gotten a while out of that valve adjustment. It probably would have tightened up again pretty quickly. But my guess is the motor, the piston and rings and all that probably would have lasted a long time because Yamaha builds one heck of an engine. So very impressed with Yamaha on that. But we are doing a whole thing, making everything new cam chain, all that. Like I said, it's got over 100 hours on it. Might as well do it. All right, guys. If you have seen the Thursday night ride video where this bike stopped running well, this is my bike. It's soon to be my son Ewan's bike. As soon as he's a little bit bigger, he's going to be riding this bike. This is a bike that Robbie Noyles gave us. Thank you, Robbie Noyles, so very much. And we built it up. We've got TBT suspension done. We've got RK Tech. Kelsey at RK Tech did reshape the head. It's a stock head, but he reshaped it. We've got it all dialed in. It's running pretty good, and I haven't done the test loop. Anyway, I'm going to do that this fall. But we let a friend, Otto, borrow it because his shock was junk, and that's super sad. But so anyway, we let him borrow it. It was running fine, and then all of a sudden it wasn't running fine. It had no top end. It just would not go. So we don't know what's wrong with it. We are going to do a youth night here. We're going to have a bunch of kids come out and learn a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to take it apart then. I've got a piston coming for it. But I want to check a couple things here on the Shlog and see if I can find out, just in case it's not a top end. 'Cause I don't know, it was a fresh piston. Everything was pretty brand new in there. Robbie did it all before we got the bike. And I haven't done anything other than take the head off, put the head back on, and jet it. And put big jets in it. So I don't think that's it. I'm going to check a couple things, and I'll bring you guys in and show you what I find. Taking the YZ125 apart, and let me just go over what I checked first. So took the bottom of the float bowl off, just the nut on the bottom to check, make sure the main jet hadn't fallen out. It didn't. It was fine. Then I took the pipe off, looked up into the cylinder. Honestly, it looked just fine. Looked pretty darn good, really. Compression definitely felt a little bit low, and the guy that borrowed it from me, his dad actually was like, yeah, it feels low. I think it's need a piston. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. It seems new. So anyway, figured let's take the air filter out, or take the seat out, take the air filter, and look what I found. So here's the thing. I've already had this out, so this is a little bit staged. I've already pulled it out and looked at it. I'm like, ha, because my kid was the last one to service this thing, and you know, honestly, both boys are really good about servicing. So I went to here to pull this out, and you'll notice that the wing bolt nut thing is super tight, no problem. But the cage is what came out, like the thing that goes in here. And yeah, so I don't know, this doesn't move. It seems like it's pretty tight. It's like maybe not totally tight. You can see that rolling, but we've definitely never had that loose, and I can't imagine Robbie ever had. Most people never have that off of there. I don't even know why. So now we know why it needs a top end. It sucked a bunch of dirt. I guess I'll take responsibility for not checking that more recently, but I know we had it all in there and happy and good, and I wrote it. Now, we didn't change the air filter or clean the air filter since the last time it got ridden, because it only got ridden one other time since the last service by my kid, and we weren't in much dust, so he didn't, you know, I was like, you don't need to do that air filter, no worries, just park it. So he didn't do a filter after that, so it must have fallen off. My guess is it fell off during that ride. We didn't check. It ran fine and never had a problem, because the ride when we were up on the plateau, there was really no dust. Well, actually, now that I think about it, there was some dust. I don't know. It wasn't that bad, but anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. Raw air went in there, smoked the top end, so there we go. Now we know what's going on. Well, no worries. Make sure you guys subscribe, because it's going to be a separate video when I have the kids come in and we do a top end in this thing. Because yeah, I want to film that, and it's gonna be cool teaching them. It's gonna be really fun. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys, because I'll be having an in-depth video on a 125 top end very soon, and we will get that sorted out. I'll probably end up gluing that thing in place, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I've just never had that happen before. Obviously gonna take the subframe off and get it out of the way. And clean, get that really, really clean, get the carburetor off and clean. I think we'll get away with just a top end, because it's still running. Crank sounded fine, all that sounded fine, just wasn't making any power on the top end. So anyway, there we go, we found it out. Air filter, I guess that's on me. Although, like I said, it's not super dirty. Inside, nice and clean, like it's supposed to be. But yeah. There we go. All right, guys, on to the next job. All right, guys, next on the lift is a 2011 250 XCF, I think. Yeah, anyway, it's 2011, early fuel injection. This guy just bought this thing, and it doesn't start very well. I had to spray brake clean in it, I think, to get it to start. But no, I didn't. I ended up bumping the starter button a bunch, and it primed it and ran, but it didn't run very well and didn't idle. So let's check the fuel pressure. Let's start there. So I got our Taco Moto gauge. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I cannot remember who bought this for us. Please comment here so I can remember, but this thing's pretty cool. just goes in line. We're gonna bump the starter. You hear it run. Goes up over 40. Now let's check it as it's cranking. See if I can hold this. Stays above 40. So I think that's pretty good. It might supposed to be 45 to 50, but it's right in there. So I don't think that's the problem since it's close enough. But I did talk to a friend of mine at the dealership, Jeremy Loans, as a mechanic over at Davis Service Center. He's a really, really good mechanic, and he's super dialed in on KTMs. And he said he had one that the valves just tightened up, and it was like odd because honestly, this generation of KTM motor rarely has that problem. So let's dig in and find out. All right, guys, we got the top off of it. We are grabbing our feeler gauges, and we're gonna come over here. As with most modern four-strokes, I like to see 4 to 6 thousandths on the intake and 6 to 10, 6 to 8 somewhere on the exhaust. So let's start with a 4 thousandths on the intake over here. Just kind of slide it in. It's going to be hard for me to show you this, but all right, that one goes. Over here, get this side. All right, so 4 goes. So that makes me think it's not a valve situation, which is good. I mean, it could be other things that are wrong. It could be the fuel pump, but let's take a 6 thousandths, come in here on the exhaust. That one's good. All right, we're all good. So that leads me to believe that there's nothing wrong with the compression, because it does feel pretty good when it's running. But we got something going on. It's just not idling. The idle adjust, which is on these old versions, is just a it's just an air passage you're opening up and closing. It's kind of weird, but I have an idea I want to try. So let me get this top back on. You guys guess what I'm getting ready to do here. Put it in the comments below, and then we're going to dive in. So I'm going to get the valve cover back on, new spark plug in it, tank back on it. We'll give it a shot with maybe a new plug. Might help it out. Plug is a little bit black, but not bad. See how that goes. And then, like I said, I got an idea. All right, guys. Next on the lift is this 2021 450 XCF. And you can see it's actually pretty easy to tell the front end is not straight. You can see the tire is way off. But I think we're good. The bars might be bent. We're going to check that out. But we got a bunch of other little things that are bent that we can fix pretty easily. So I'm psyched to work on this here with you guys and show you what we're going to do and show you that like it's not that huge of a deal if something goes south. I'm going to start with the bars. So you can see it's pretty easy to see that this is back of this and the gap down here is more than that. There's rubber cones in here. I don't like those, so we're going to get rid of those. And then the other thing I don't like is that this is connected between these two. So when this happens, it bends and it bends that piece and it's done. It's junk. You gotta throw it away. But I have some stuff to help them out. Those are for Thomas. So guys, check that out. You can see that that is bent. Like I said, it's nice because when everything's fine, this adds some rigidity between these things being connected between the two, which on a race bike is nice and makes things rigid and nice. But the problem is when you crash, this happens and then you gotta throw it away. Whereas if they're separate pieces, you just bend everything back into place and you're good to go. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a different setup on here.
Totally tweaked.
Okay, guys, check that out. That's also bent. Again, nice as long as you don't crash, but bad if you do, because then you gotta throw this whole piece away.
I know that now.
Now, yeah.
The S part, I was like, what's an SR?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, there we go. So these things we're going to replace because, again, it's nice. It separates the bars from the bike and reduces vibration a little bit. Like a little, not much, a little bit. But in my experience, when you tip over, crash, whatever, it allows some give that then bends things, where if it's rigid, it doesn't bend it. And these bikes, it's modern four-stroke, they don't vibrate that much anyway. Alright, we're going to reuse the rubber, only because I thought I had the aluminum cones. I don't. I have ordered more because I sell a ton of them. They're from Zeta. They're called Rubber Killers. Anyway, they're really nice. I don't have them, but that's alright. We'll still get everything straight today so you can ride and then get them back out on the trail, no big deal. And then in the future, we're thinking about maybe getting them a set of Mako 360s, which will then eliminate all this anyway, so no big deal. But if you look, so guys, this is eccentric, so it's not centered, it's not symmetrical, so it's forward or back, and we're going to move the bars forward. He's a big guy, he's a tall guy, so we want him a little, open the cockpit up a little bit more. Yeah. Alright guys, here is another tip. So even though this is bent, what we're going to do is because we're not aligning anything, but what we need to do is we need to tighten these bolts that I just put in. And the problem is if I try to tighten them, it's going to twist these things and I won't get the bars to sit well. So what you do is you take this guy. Oh, I know. I know.
Oh, gosh.
Alright guys, so we're went ahead and actually put this all the way on because it's trying to twist them. Still, they were relative to each other, okay? We want to put that on. Now we're going to tighten all this up.
They're going back to Western.
What? We just cartwheeled and twisted everything on the front. So, but we got them dialed in now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So be here before 5, ready to rumble to Sherco.
Yeah. I'm in that boat trying to figure out how to get my...
Alright guys, I think that's pretty straight. We're going to have to get the front end straight to see if the bars are actually straight. I think it's okay though. I don't know, if anything, this end might be down. That's alright. We have more bars if we need to, we can do it. So now, if you guys watched the last Shlog with the KLR650, so what I had to do, I had to loosen triple clamp bolts. So I had to loosen triple clamp bolts, both sides straight up. So that's what we're going to do. We'll loosen those things up. I've got a stand underneath it so it doesn't just fall down. Anyway, so we should be able to loosen those, straighten this whole thing up, then we can check the bars one more time.
Yeah, you don't have to be on the pipe and stuff. But that's why I got to have a 2-stroke, so it's kind of a 12.
12's the lower, 17's
Yeah.
the upper.
Yeah.
Forest or
Did all work for the Forest Service, and I ended up doing construction for a while.
just go through everything and just kind of get familiar with everything and then I just...
All right, so we have this next on the list, KLX140G, I don't know, whatever. It's the one with the big wheels. I think it's 1821 wheel set. Which actually, I think these are pretty cool bikes. It's a small motor, beginner bike, but with full-size wheels, which is really handy because it rolls over stuff easier than the small wheel stuff. But it's mellow for beginners and things like that. It's also short. They made the frame and everything really short, so it's a low seat height. But anyway, customer brought it in, said died while riding. Obviously, it's missing seat bolts. But yeah, so I did this. Probably not running. I just checked the spark. It definitely is sparking. I sprayed brake cleaner into the spark plug hole. Hit the button again. Did not start. Did the exact same thing. Kind of almost like you can hear it. But To me, this sounds like turning over awfully easy. You heard it almost try to start. Let me show you guys a super cool little tech tip, old school tech tip here to check compression without a compression gauge, or check to see if that's what the problem is. First of all, we're going to take the spark plug out real fast. It's dry. To me, I'm guessing that this thing, the compression is no bueno, because it just seems like it's spinning awfully quick. And since I sprayed highly volatile brake cleaner into the spark plug hole, and I know that it's sparking, and it still doesn't want to start, kind of leads you to believe that. Another thing that will lead you to believe that is when the spark plug is completely dry, super dry. A lot of times that's because, like, what's happening, if it's not making compression, it also means it's not making much suction and pulling fuel in, because that's all dependent on everything. Anyway, whatever. So if it's not pulling hard enough, it won't draw gas into it. So here's what you do. Get yourself some 2-stroke oil. Any kind will work, or just a tiny bit into the cap. And I'm gonna go grab a little funnel, because that's kind of hard to get to. Get a funnel, go like that. We're gonna just dribble that little bit of oil in there. Now put the spark plug back in. What this is doing, guys, is if the compression is low because of the rings, that oil will help to seal the rings a little bit and might make this thing start. We'll see. It may be too far gone, but since it's kind of trying to start, I have a feeling this might work. There we go. And it might take a few times to splash it around there. Well, it's a little bit better than before I did that. Not great. Pretty sure we are losing the compression battle, but now we got to figure out why. What happened? Especially since it just died while running. I have an idea of what I think it might be. Let's get into the air box. Well, the air filter looks all right. It's pretty dry though, so let's see how it looks behind it. Doesn't look as dry as that Yamaha YZ140 from a couple weeks ago, but it doesn't look great. Well, it's kind of hard to tell. There's a screen, but if we look in, hang on, let me get this cage out of the way. Yeah, it caught on fire at some point, looks like. I don't know, I think it's no bueno. So I'm going to go ahead and check the intake valves and see how they are, because they might be tightened up and maybe the rings aren't the issue, although I still think probably that's the case. But so I'm going to pull this tank off and get in there, check that, and I'll bring you guys in when I see what I find in there. So I have the top off, I have the valve cover off on the intake. I've rolled it over. Here, I'll show you what I do. So on these, well, on anything, I try to roll it over until the valve moves down. There we go. So the valve's opening, valve's closing. Now I go just a little bit past that, which should be on the base circle. Just come in here to see if it has any clearance, and that is way too much valve clearance. It's weird because the adjuster doesn't look like it's way far out, so that's not honestly a great thing. It It almost seems like maybe the valve could be bent, which would be really weird. Especially since it was just riding and it quit, unless of course it over revved and hit the, anyway. So I'm going to try adjusting that and see, because that could actually cause really low compression if it's not opening that valve enough and not drawing enough fuel and air in. So we'll adjust that thing, we'll check the exhaust, see how bad it is, and then we'll try to start it again. It's gotten really weird now. So I was able to rotate it all the way through, and that was all well and good. I tightened up that valve, the rocker arm adjuster, put that in, got it close to what I think, just a little bit of a movement. Anyway, whatever. Went to rotate it around, and then it stopped like it's hitting the valve. I didn't hit the button. I was just doing it by hand. I started hitting, so I went back, loosened it back up again. Now, no matter which way I spin it, it goes about 360 degrees or 350 degrees and hits. So it's like it's hitting. So I'm having a feeling there's a lot more wrong. So I'm gonna take this inspection cover off right here for the, get it at top dead center, take this cover off so we can check valve timing and see what's going on. I think now I'm thinking maybe, since the air filter looked okay, not great, but like whatever, maybe it's a skipped cam chain. So anyway, let's get that off and check. It's gotten even weirder. So I adjusted the valves. It seemed like it was stuck. Then I tried rolling it over again after I moved it just a little bit, and it didn't move. And then I moved it a little bit, and it didn't move. Anyway, and then all of a sudden it started rotating through. I don't know. Seems odd. So then I set it, and now the valve clearance is about what I would expect. It's just got a little tiny bit of clearance. I haven't checked it with feeler gauges, but it's, feels about right enough to where it should start. Turn it on. Still does the same thing, but I didn't have the camera running just a second ago, and it almost started. Like, it felt like maybe I had done something with the valves. It got good, but it almost started. So I'm gonna try to spray some brake clean. See if that does anything. Now it sounds even less like it's going to start than before. Cam chain is definitely tight. The timing seems to be right from the cam to the crank. There's something definitely wrong with this motor. Give this person a call, see how far they want me to go, see if they want me to take it apart, because something's going on in there that's not good. I hear some like kind of clanking and it's just weird. Not 100% sure. So anyway, stick with us, guys. This could get interesting. All right, guys. So I talked to the owner, at least the dad or granddad of the owner, and he confirmed what I was worried about. They have been riding this thing wide open for way too long. And he knew that it was probably going to be something really, really bad. So he's down. We're going to take this thing apart. So if that sounds interesting, stick with us in this video. We're going to rip this thing apart and see what all is wrong. And it should be pretty cool to see. All right, guys, we got it apart and found out what's going on. So, Leia, come. Good girl. So here's the head. You can see it is hammered over here by the exhaust valve. And I found this, which definitely looks like a screw of some kind that was in there. And honestly, guys, this is the second one like this in the last couple years where I found something inside a 4-stroke motor that definitely shouldn't have been there, and definitely what it did is it bent this exhaust valve. That's why it's not making any compression, not starting, and that stopping was this thing must have been like cocking and doing weird things as I was slowly rolling it over. But that begs the question, how on earth did that get into that motor? And if we come over here, take a look at the piston. The piston's actually not that bad. So it's there's the exhaust. You can see it dinged up there pretty good. So obviously we're gonna have to replace that, but it's not horrible. But guys, where did that come from? So you might think, well, the air filter, something got behind there. Okay, that's plausible, except for the screen keeps things from going in there. If you know, something came loose inside here, everything was, you know, where it's supposed to be. And that's a funky little screw. It almost feels like an aluminum screw. I should check it with the magnet, I will. But I don't know, I really don't know how that got in there. Haha! I found it. That is cool. Honestly, guys, no joking moment. That was not me playing this up. I hadn't looked in here yet. Real deal. Right now, I just figured this out. Take a look. Right there, that makes total sense. There is the screw that is now missing from the one side of the choke plate. That's interesting. I've never seen that happen on one of these KLXs. That used to actually happen to XR600s, like that one over there. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, the old XR600 choke plate had those screws, and it also had this little flap. Anyway, whatever. So every now and then something would come loose and go run through the motor. Now I know what happened. So that's interesting. It actually probably wasn't the kids' fault. The kids were actually just having fun, probably riding it wide open when they maybe shouldn't be going quite so fast. Well, not fast, but hard on this little engine. But obviously the engine was holding up and doing just fine. Just the carburetor, that little thing came loose. That sucks. But I'm also happy I found it. We know what's wrong with it. Good to know. Really, really happy about that. So, yeah, now I'm going to get a parts list together, give the gentleman a call, get some money for a deposit. We'll get that coming, and we'll get this thing fixed. The cylinder actually, I think, looks pretty good. I got to clean it, but it's definitely not got any huge scratches, so that's good. I think the head will. I think the head's going to be okay. We'll obviously need a new valve. We'll get two new valves. I'm going to see about like what's going on. I'm wondering actually that little piece. God, that's interesting. Anyway, what was causing that valve to be out of adjustment? I don't know. Anyway, that thing might have been holding the intake valve open for a little bit, then it went in there. Anyway, it's crazy. So, super happy we found that. Definitely gonna get new valves. Might have to have the head cut. We'll see how bad the seat is. Hopefully the seat's okay. We might get lucky. These little simple old school air-cooled motors are really, really tough. Also, tolerances aren't that tight. If it's a little bit off, it's not that big a deal. As long as it seals, right? It has to seal. It can't not seal. But anyway, psyched you guys are here for that. Get this thing fixed up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys, because I'll be following up as we rebuild this thing. All right, guys, got a hold of the owner. We're got parts on the way. We're gonna get this thing ready to go here pretty quickly. So make sure you subscribe, guys, because it's definitely gonna be on one of the next Shlogs. Probably not next one, but maybe the one after. We'll see. Depends on how long it takes to get parts. But I just thought I'd quick touch base on how I like to store bikes when I got them apart, so that things don't, bad don't happen. Really, it's not too big of a deal. I just take a rag, try to cover up the holes that things you don't want to go down into. Put it like that, we're all good. Carburetor's kind of hanging there, but it's all fine. And now we're just gonna take this, put it over in a quiet part of the shop where it won't get messed with until we get the stuff, and we'll put her back together. All right, guys, that's the end of the week, end of the Shlog. Got this guy apart. I don't know if I mentioned that, but we have the radiator. We took the radiator off of this because he hit a rock, fell down. Anyway, poked a hole somewhere. We couldn't actually find it. It didn't seem like there was a visible leak in the radiator, but all the coolant was gone. He had to ride it out, so he took it easy. He would stop, take long breaks. So it seems like the motor starts fine, doesn't make any noises, doesn't seem like it's smoking, so I think we're good. But there really wasn't any coolant left. So got that down to the radiator shop. They'll be working on that, so make sure you stick around, guys, to the channel, because we'll have that coming back here soon. Also, I'm going to be... we also put front brake pads on it. I'm going to change the oil, couple other things, nothing super special on that. Got the parts ordered for the KLX140, so that's coming soon. Also, guys, super excited to announce that we have these shirts in stock here in the shop. Limited run. We only made a few of them, but they're in stock. They're actually going to ship from here, not from some offshore place, not some print to go. I mean, we all our stuff that's below the videos and rolling, that's like print on demand, which is nice and stuff like that. But these will all be touched by us, you know, Lander, Zach, and I working sending these shirts out. So if you want one, you want to support the channel, go check out the link in the description, or you can go to or you can go to highland-cycles.com, go to merchandise page, check them out there. We also got hats, a few other things that actually ship direct from here. So anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking around at the end. Punk Rock Club, I love you guys the most. Yes, I play favorites. I really hope that you get out and spread the gospel of two wheels, and I desperately hope that what we're doing here is inspiring you guys to work on, but more importantly, get out and ride your dirt bikes!